Okay, hello everyone again, and this time it's turn for Fabien Vauchelles. Did I did it? Yes, I did it.
Yeah, you
It
did it.
it was really the most difficult part of this, really. So Fabien is an anti-ban expert with over a decade of experience in web scraping. His passion for code and technology enables him to bypass various protections. He's the creator of Scrapoxy, a major free and open source proxy waterfall tailored for the web scraping industry. And right now, he will do a bit of live coding if
Yeah.
I'm. So I really wish you good luck, and I
Thank
hope
you.
that the gods of live coding will be with you. So good luck, man.
Thank you very much. So, first of all, how many of you are doing some web scraping stuff? Yeah, some of you. How many of you just get a captcha this morning? None? Yeah, some of you. Because we are in the proxy country, that's one of the biggest providers of proxy here. Also, we had quite a lot of talk about CAPTCHA today, so that's nice to talk about web scrapings. So I'm Fabian. I'm doing web scraping for many times. I'm also the creator of Scrapoxy. So what's Scrapoxy? It's free and open source if you want to start in web scraping. It will help you to manage all your proxies, so it's able to manage and route proxy, um, your traffic, everything through cloud providers and proxy services. You can handle cloud provider like AWS, GCP, whatever, proxy services like IP-Royal, which is a Lithuanian one, by the way. And we will see that later. But before we enter to our discussion, I'd like to share with you a little story. So enter Isabella. So Isabella is a final year student in IT school. She has a lot of energy and a thirst for traveling. Every year, she embarks to a random country for a 1 month backpacking journey. But here is a twist. To prepare this 1 month journey, it took her an entire year of preparations. And she couldn't help but notice there is a gap in the market. Why, in a digital era, pumped with LLM, AI, everything, there is no such a tool doing that? So perhaps it's time for her to create kind of business, but she realized to create this kind of business she needed a lot of data. Yes, this data will be used to train a large language model to create the ultimate trip for that. But Isabella knows she must take care about the legal aspects. She understands she can't do too much request to the website. She can't overwhelm the website. She also understands she can't download personal data like emails, names, this kind of stuff. She can only collect public data. Also, she is not signing any term and conditions. She is not logging. So she is free from any contract. And because she can go web scraping, now I would like to introduce you the website Isabella chose to scrape, which is trekkiereview.com. So let's have a look on Trekkie Review. So what's Trekkie Review all about? So Trekkie Review is your go-to place for searching any accommodations in the city you want. So don't try Vilnius, only Paris work. If I'm clicking on search, I've got 50 results here. And I've got a lot of accommodations. What I can do is to click on one accommodations and I will get the names, location, contact phone, description, whatever, and then we get also some review. Isabella is interested about review because if you analyze a review, perhaps checking all the bad review, you can extract what are the main issue of the authors. That's clearly what I'm doing with Airbnb, checking every review and extracting the bad one to find, oh, I shouldn't get to this place. So let's get back to this website. Oh, I forgot. This website is super secured. We have the same website in different versions. Here there is a levels. And we have the same website with a different protections, and Isabella will try to bypass all these protections during these presentations. So let's have a look of the website. I will open the inspector here on Chrome, going to network request. I will check preserve log, filter on doc, and reload. So when we start, we are on the home page on the level 1. If I'm clicking on Paris here, I've got the list of 50 accommodations. And if I'm clicking on one accommodation here, I can get all information inside the response of the request. Here you can view the HTML. So perhaps there is information inside. If I'm looking at the bottom, I will get the hotel description. That's nice, but I want to collect this review comment. So Isabella wants to collect this part. Of course, she doesn't want to write everything from scratch because it's HTML, she needs a parser, so she doesn't want to create that. She needs also to make all the requests. Sometimes when you're doing web scraping, requests fail, so you need a retry strategy. You need to manage also concurrency. That's why she will use a framework. And this framework is Scrapy. Who knows Scrapy? Some of you? Yes, some of you, that's cool. So it's a 10-year of this framework this year. It's an open source framework in Python. There is a lot of add-ons, extensions. It manages all the parsing of XPath, CSS, regex. You don't like to write regex, that's why they're handling that. They manage requests, cookie, concurrency, whatever. Most of the company doing crawling, scraping at scale use Scrapy. And Scrapy run spiders. So basically it's a Python class. You give it a cool name like Tricky Spider Review. You give it also a name here, and you've got methods. First one is used to define the URL that you want to collect, and when the engine gets a response, you can parse the content. Here we have a CSS extractor, we get the names, and we can also start further requests and doing other parsings. So let's have a look to a real spider. So same spider here. You've got the start request when you get all the information. Here we are going on the different page of the pagination. You know, a website at different page, paginations, like flipping the page of a catalog, this kind of stuff. When you got the list of items, you parse each hotel links. When you get the hotel's information, you extract information with magic CSS parsers. That's cool. We get the email, name, review, whatever. So now what we will do is to run these spiders. So you can see I'm connecting very quickly to the website, no protections, and I've got here 50 items. Nice. And also the beauty of Scrapy is it's crafting in a CSV form or whatever format you want, and you can have this kind of data used for your machine learning algorithm, connecting to an API, connecting to an MCP server, whatever you want. So that's perfect. But in the real life, it doesn't seem like that. When Isabella is trying to go to a serious website, so let's move to the next levels, so level 2. And when she starts the spider, what's happening is a lot of error. First one is unknown browsers. Yeah. It's because when you're connecting to a website, your clients, which is Python client, which is a Java client, a browser like Firefox, Chrome, whatever, they're sending a lot of informations. So let's have a look at what Chrome are sending. So Chrome here, if we are looking to the headers, we've got the request headers, and Chrome are sending a bunch of headers here, especially what we call the user agent at the bottom. So we are declaring that we are a Mozilla on Linux and we are using Chrome. That's perfect. Also Chrome add, because it's Chrome, additional security header, this kind of stuff. So to confirm this information. So if you're writing that you're a user agent Chrome and you're not adding this kind of information, you will be rejected. And of course, by default, Scrapy sends, hey, I'm Scrapy, please ban me. this kind of stuff. Of course, the website won't let you in, so we have to modify this kind of information. So let's have some modification of the parameters. So I will open the default headers. I will add the user agents. Oh, I'm on Windows. That's perfect. I'm on Linux, by the way. So it's completing with Copilot. Copilot will save you life for that. And I've got some consistent headers here. So if I'm starting that again, if I'm running the spider, this time I can bypass the protection and I've got the 50 items. So that's the most simple protection that you can find on internet. You sometimes have to change the user agents. If you're doing randomly, don't forget to add additional headers. But my advice is use the latest one with the common signature because everyone is using these signatures, and don't randomize it. But clearly, that's not what's happening when you're connecting to a serious website. If you're starting the crawlings, what will happen, you will get few requests here, but at the end, you've got a lot of retry, and that will fail because we're doing too many requests. Do you know why? Because I'm using my laptop, so my single IP address from the IP address from this Wi-Fi, and from this IP address, I'm sending a lot of requests. And the server is just rate limiting me. So I need to do something. You see, I just collected 12 items. So what should I do? Any idea? Change the IP with Proxy. Yes. So what is a proxy? A proxy is a system which can relay your request from your spider to the website. So instead, for the server, instead of seeing one IP address sending thousands of requests, he will see multiple IP addresses sending a few requests. And there is multiple type of proxy. First one, very simple, what we call data center proxy. So basically, you go on address, you install a squid proxy, and you get a fresh IP. You can do that on whatever cloud providers. But the thing is, it's easily detected because an IP address of data center or an IP address of whatever machine you have is bound to an IP range. And when provider like Amazon is buying IP range, they pay that for a lot of money. There is not so much IPv4. They can use IPv6 too, but they are tied to what we call an autonomous system number. And there is database for that. You can find free or paying database for that, which match the IP address and link that to the autonomous system number. So I know that using this kind of IP range is Amazon or GCP, whatever. So I need to trick that a little bit. What I will do first is to use what we call ISP proxy. So ISP proxy stands for Internet Service Provider Proxy. So how does it work? Very easy. Imagine that you are proxy services and you want this kind of IP. So you will call a mobile provider, an internet box provider, and you will say, okay, please rent me some IP range. Because they have a lot of unused IP range every time, and they will rent you for that. Of course, for a lot of money. And you will bind your server with this IP. You can do that on Amazon, whatever. You can bring your own IP address. It's possible. You're not forced to use the IP address from AWS. And you will be mixed with other users like mobile, internet box, etc. And you will pass. But still, it can be detected by anti-bot because you're renting a full IP range. So what we will use today is residentials. Who use residential? No one? Okay, let me reformulate. Who have installed a free application on his mobile phone? Yeah, you can everyone stand. So basically imagine that you are developers. For getting some money from apps, because it's never free, nothing is free in this world, you can sell subscriptions. If you don't want to sell subscription to unlock some features, you can put some advertising, like a video to watch, and after it unlocks some features. But there is a last thing that you can do is to sell the bandwidth of the user. Yeah, you can do that. There is a lot of SDK. We can do that. Of course, with your agreement, which is hidden in the bottom line of the term and conditions. So, now that said, we will try to use some proxy. But if we are doing seriously proxying, we can't use a single provider. We need to use multiple providers. We can't rely just on only one. What we will do first is to install Scrapoxy in our infrastructure to manage all our proxy strategy. So let me give you an example. Imagine that you want to collect Amadeus data. You're connecting directly on their website and you're just blocked because clearly they have a good anti-bot systems and based on your IP address, whatever, they will detect you. So what you will do first is to install Scrapoxy. Scrapoxy is also able to manage headless browsers, so that's the cool part. And Scrapoxy will connect to every cloud provider API, SDK, ask for some instance or allocation IP address, and all the traffic will be routed through that. And that's the cool part. You will get a lot of IP address with that. So now what we can do is to start Scrapoxy. So I will just start by Docker file here. So it's just a Docker on my computer. You can install that also in Kubernetes. And I will connect to my localhost. Here I've got already one project. I can click on that and I don't have any provider. You can add whatever the provider you want. There is multiple ones. It's just a list of connector. If you want to add address, you just have to create one with your credential. You just add that one and it will handle all the management orchestrations. So I already add some address credentials and I will start 10 machine just now. So I'm starting the connector. If I'm going to my AWS account, you see I don't have any instance. But in the few seconds, you will see that instances are coming. So incoming, perfect. I've got 10 instances. And it's really fast. With a T4G Nano, it's already up and ready. And Scrapoxy will install all the proxies inside. And now I can go on Scrapoxy, check my proxy. You see I've got the status, a lot of informations, request, number of data sent and received, the IP address, and I will see in a few seconds a lot of new IP address, which are located, by the way, in the Dublin data center. So I can confirm with this map. Perfect. So now I need to plug my spider to Scrapoxy to go to an address and collect data from the website. So what I will do, I will use these credentials and get back to my spiders. So let's just copy paste a small code. I will show and explain you. So on the custom setting, I will add these add-ons and some parameters of my local instance. And now what I can do is to run the spider. And now I'm not rate limited, because if I'm going back here on the proxy, you can see that I'm just sending some requests to Scrapoxy. So I'm going to Ireland and getting all the data. And of course here I will get my 50 items. So now Isabella is very happy. But sometimes she's trying to have some issue. So let me show you that. So if she's moving to the level 4, she's running again the spiders, she is directly blocked. Because the data center IP are just detected. As I told you, these data centers is detected because it's written Amazon 02. So I can't use this kind of IP address. So I need to switch to more advanced kind of proxy. What I will do, so I will use a Lithuanian one I already told you, so IP Royal. They provide a lot of proxy, and I will configure that in Scrapoxy. So first thing, I will stop Scrapoxy. I don't want to pay for my instance, and that's also the beauty of Scrapoxy, is just warming up and down the proxy only during your scraping session. So you reduce your cost by 80% using a free tool. I will add the connectors here with IP rail credential already configured. And what I will do, I will use on United States ones. Okay, perfect. Let's start them and just wait a few seconds. So you can see that Scrapoxy is stopping the instance. Everything are stopping and I won't pay for that. So now I've got nearly ready 10 allocated IP on IP rail. Let's have a look. It takes a little bit times. And I can check if everything are up and ready. Okay, I've got some IP there. Perfect. This one, yeah, I should get rid of this. Sometimes it happens. And automatically it will rotate. Also, you can configure your spiders to automatically remove an IP. It will be replaced immediately. So I've got everything in the US. What I can do is to start again the spider. So I didn't touch anything on the spiders, just added a new providers. So you can see now I'm not blocked. I'm passing everything through the US. It's a little bit slower because I'm doing a round trip, but I've got most of the items, so 50 items, that's perfect. So that's nice. So that's what you can do with Proxy. So now let's imagine something more complex. If I'm jumping directly to the level 6, running that again, I'm connecting to the website, but I've got harder issue, which is no fingerprint. Yeah, so what's a fingerprint is? So let's have a look deeper on the website. So now I will go on level 6. What I will do is remove the filtering of request and refreshing. So you can see here a lot of requests. So we're getting some HTML, style sheet, images. We're downloading a lot of information for rendering, cool execution on the websites. So a lot of GET requests. But the thing is, I'm also have post request, and not only one. I think I will add very soon another's. And on this post request, I can check what am I sending. So I'm not only downloading information from the website, I'm uploading informations. And if I have a look, I can check the payload. And what am I sending? I'm sending the real platform, the real time zone, and the user agents. So I'm executing JavaScript. The website asks me to execute JavaScript to gather information and to send that to the web server. So if I'm not executing JavaScript, I can't send these informations. And relying only on Scrapy now doesn't work. So I need to change the way of getting the data. So that's why I will use another framework combined with Scrapy, because I love Scrapy, which is Playwright. Who knows Playwright? Some of you. So Playwright is used for end-to-end testing. But perhaps you know it, it's mostly used for web scrapings. So what's Playwright all about? Playwright, it's free and open source, maintained by Microsoft, and it can start a browser, Firefox, Chrome, whatever, execute some JavaScript. So it will handle all the logic of browser executions. So how can I set up that in my Scrapy spiders? So let's get back to my spiders here. So I will open another file, which is this one, which is adapted for Playwright. Basically, it's the same spider. You can see I'm sending the start request. We are getting all the city, all the page. On the city, the hotel link, we're passing that. When we get the hotel information, we're extracting name, email, review, and we'll have at the end structured informations. The only difference is the way of getting the data. So I'm not using the basic handler, download handler of Scrapy. I'm asking to Playwright to open the browser here and to handle the logic. So if I'm starting this file, Playwright. So now I've got Scrapy asking to Playwright to open many browsers, you can see, connecting to the home page, downloading the CSS, JavaScript, whatever, sending the payload, I'm granted, and now I can quickly go on each hotel page. And you can see it very fast. So for the demo, you see the browser, but of course you can run that in a headless mode, in a container, Docker containers, and you will get all informations. It's a little bit slower than doing direct request, but for most anti-bot solutions, that can bypass them. The simple one, of course. So if we have a look, we should be close to the 50 items. Yeah, here. So it's not exactly 50 because I didn't correctly implement in retry mechanisms. So you should, but you get bypassed the protections. So let's have a look at something quite more difficult. So let's move to level 7 and run it again. So what we will have, so now Scrapy is asking to Playwright to open again the spiders. Playwright will open 10 browsers, connecting to the website, getting the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, whatever, sending the payload. But you see, I've got some errors. Here, I've got an error which is inconsistent time zones. Yeah, that's because they are not only checking the JavaScript executions, they're also checking what you're sending, so the payload. Because we are using US IP address, so there is a time zone from this IP, and we are using also the browser time zone. So we have America for IP and Vilnius for the browsers. So two choices. I can change perhaps the location of the IP, get a European one, but that's things I don't want to do because perhaps the website is blocking me based on geolocations. Sometimes if you go to Brazilian website, you get blocked. So you need Brazilian IP address, and on other countries that's the same. Japan it's too. So I need to change the setting of Playwright. And of course you can do that. So what I can do here is to force the time zone. And we will put, I'm listening, what I will put, America. Yeah, let's do that. So if I'm running that again, now so Chrome will open, we'll go to the home page, downloading every information, executing the JavaScript, collecting the fingerprint, sending the fingerprint with this time the correct time zone of the browser, aligning the time zone with the IP address, and you can see I'm now going to the different hotels. It's very quick. Our goal is not to last on each hotels. Also, I'm not rendering the image. You can say, okay, on this page, I don't want to rendering the image, so you save a lot of bandwidth, especially if you're using residential proxy because you pay by gigabytes. So you don't want to download useless images, only those within cache, and at the end, you will get all information. So you can see I just bypass the protections. Nice. Okay. So that is a generic way to go on website and execute JavaScript and try to bypass some protections. But sometime when you're going to commercial website, you will have more advanced protections. So let me show you. I will move to another level, which is level 8. So let's have a look on the different requests here. So of course, I'm downloading on this level a lot of information, so you know them. But this time, I've got a post request here, which is not sent by FP. It's something random. Okay, so let's have a look to this payload. And we've got an encrypted payload. I can tell you it's not a base64. If you're decompiling with base64, you will get the following. So this one. So it's encrypted. Of course, if the payload is encrypted, it's very difficult perhaps to mimic it, the post information, because something I want to do perhaps is not to start Playwright, which can be very slow if you want to do millions of requests in 1 hour. Perhaps you want to emulate the antibot payload and send that, but to emulate the antibot payload, you need to understand what is inside the payload and how to emulate it and fake it. So what we can do is to go back on the network. We have this payload. We can go on initiators and see the script with sending the payload. So basically, it's a one-liner like this. And if you have a look of the script, it's this JavaScript. Yeah. So everyone can understand that. Yeah. You can do? Yeah, of course. Of course not. You can't. It's obfuscated. And what we need to do is to deobfuscate the code. So here are some techniques of deobfuscations. So let's take this kind of stuff that you have here. What you can do in deobfuscation, imagine you have this kind of code. The first technique is to replace what you can do and to decipher the text. You cannot understand the text on top. But what you can do is to use these functions, which is used here, and decipher directly the text. So let's do that. It's called string cancelling. That's the operation of obfuscations. So now we've got barely the text in a clear mode. Of course, you can see there is a lot of constants, and the constants are used here. So what we will do, we will replace the constant by the value. So it's called constant unfoldings. Here we've got, of course, something more readable. I will join the string, okay, and I will replace the string notation by the dot notations. And we know now that the antibot is looking about the screen white. Yeah, you can do that with JavaScript. It's an ugly language, so that's the fun part. And I only show you what you can do with strings. You can do a lot of bad things with code. So you can have a lot of techniques. So let's do that now. If I'm going back to the code, what I will do is to copy this code and to put that in this file. Perfect. So this is the code. And I worked a little bit before this presentation. I wrote the obfuscator specifically for this payload. So I'm using Babel. Babel is a transpilers, and I'm doing this kind of operation I just explained you, so constant unfolding. I'm doing also string joins, whatever, converting string notation to dot notations. So you see, I'm chaining the operations. So now if I'm running the spiders, not the spiders, the deobfuscators, so okay, it's quite fast today. So let's open the deobfuscated source code. Okay. So I've got now the deobfuscated source code. So as you can see, we still have some creepy name on the function. Yes, we cannot find these names because when you're doing obfuscation, you're losing part of the informations. But we can still understand what the code is doing. So my advice, take this code, put it in Claude Code. Claude Sonnet will just get the correct names. That's work like a charm. So now let's try to understand what the code is doing. So first, we have this function. I don't know what is it. We have this one. Okay, there is RSS stuff. So we are doing encryptions. So if we are speaking about encryption, there is a key. This key is here. Perfect. Next functions. Okay, we have a post method, content type, we're managing error. So this is a function sending the payload. Okay, so we need to find what we are sending and where the payload is built. So let's have a look on the next one. Oh, we are gathering some WebGL informations, renderer information. Oh, yeah, that's it. So we're collecting the vendor and the renderer information from the GPU models. So we have to fetch these informations, and after everything is changed, this is the main function sending the build the payload. So now what we will do is to mimic the same behavior and to collect the informations. So I will open another spiders, this one. So this is the first spider, same one. You have here the tricky spiders. You can see there is the start request. We are also parsing the different pages. We are getting the hotel links, and when we get the hotel information, we are tracking name, email, and review. Same spiders. But the only difference is what we do first. First, we're going to the home page, and we are sending a payload, so a post request, to this URL, like the website, the browser. And we are building the payload here. So I can go here. So this function is building the payload. I need to replace that to create the correct payload, and I need a public key. So let's first do this. We were speaking about renderer, vendors. Let's say it's Intel on these computers. Okay, I need the key now. So the key were at the top. I will copy paste the encryption key, which is the public key, and I will get back to my spider here and put the public key. Perfect. And now if I'm running the spider, this one, I'm sending the key, and now I've got all the requests. And you see, no user playwright. And I've got the 50 items. So the question is, why should I deobfuscate or use playwright? It's a matter of time and money. Perhaps it will take 3 months to deobfuscate the source code of the anti-bot systems. Perhaps not. Perhaps it's more costly to use, I don't know, thousands of VM with Chrome inside. You don't know. Okay, so that's all for me. Download Scrapoxy, add a GitHub star. It will help a lot this open source project. And I've got a lot of cool stickers if you'd like. So don't forget to get this one. And perhaps I can get 3 or 4 questions.
Yes. So yes, we even have already one. But maybe first I will ask, is there someone in the audience who has some questions? Oh, don't be shy. Okay, so we start with someone who is anonymous. If we are trying to scrape a website that has location-specific content, is there any other option than buying proxy from that country?
No.
So
next.
Yeah, and sadly that's...
No, so there is VPNs. But
oh yeah, there are
VPN proxy. But to be honest, all VPN addresses are known, so don't choose that.
So the moment we are just trying to scrape a website that knows what it's doing when it comes to preventing that, the VPN won't work, right?
Yeah, okay. Because on the database, you can have this kind of website, IP info, and they will tell you, okay, this is a Tor node, this is a VPN outbound IP address. So you will get this information on the website. You pay this information because there is subscription, but that's something which is flagged really quickly.
And we have another one. How do you scrape Cloudflare?
Ah, that's a good question. So if you want to collect data from Cloudflare, I'm speaking not the enterprise version, but the free versions. You can use, let's have a check on this website. These solutions. So this is a patch Firefox. The guy who creates that is amazing. So he used the latest patch to anonymize Firefox, and you can mimic the fingerprint. You can mimic a lot of stuff, including WebGL information, WebRTC. So this is something you're leaking the information normally. So you can set the proxy address with that. That's one of the solutions to bypass Cloudflare. So it replaces Playwright, but that works.
And we have another one. How and why did you start your journey and scraping and
At Scrapoxy.
Scraper?
Yeah, I was collecting websites 8 years ago, and I had a lot of issue with IP address. And you know, at this time, I was very poor, so I can't afford any proxy. Proxy services were very expensive. Now it's quite affordable, but at this time it was very tricky to get a lot of proxy. The only solution was to start-stop machine. I created some script to do that. After I did that on Azure, other provider users start to use Scrapoxy, and now I've included a lot of proxy services, so it's helping a lot of companies in the world.
And we have one more. So, how do you scrape Google to get thousands of websites of a specific type?
Yeah, so what you're looking for, it's what we call search SERP APIs. So there is specific provider who provide you API for SERP. You can use this service because they are targeting especially search engine like Google's. So this kind of SERP API can help you on that. But it can be very tricky to do that at scale. Having perhaps, I don't know, 10 requests is okay, but can be difficult if you want to scale Google search, this kind of stuff.
Okay, and one more. How many websites are usually on level 8 and it requires deobfuscation?
Yeah, a lot. Because when you're collecting websites, it depends on your business. Some business are collecting various websites. So to give you how the web is split, you have what we call the long tail, which are most of the website, but usually not scraped. And you have a small part, which are social network, e-commerce, travel website, and everyone wants the data from this website. So they are really well protected, and they have this kind of protection. Of course, you can find guys on internet selling services to do the deobfuscations. That's how companies are working.
And there are still more. How to bypass CAPTCHAs?
To bypass CAPTCHA, there is this cat and mouse game, of course. You have AI CAPTCHA solver, which are really fast, but I saw a talk just before, which was amazing about how to detect AI CAPTCHA solver. So we will see the next step.
Okay, and I think that's all. No one from the audience? Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
So, thank you so much. Huge applause.